Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad you guys are here. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for joining us on the show today. I just wanted to give a big shout out to everybody that has followed the group and everybody who is joining the podcast. Um, I know it's a long run. We just got this thing going, got it up and running, but I just wanted to give you a big shout out. Thank you guys to all the people that are following from the UK, from Australia. We've got people from Asia that are following us. Uh, it seems like there is a big interest in people to see what we can come up with and the evidence that we get when we start getting these investigations going. And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. It's chaos, it's hectic around here, and I'm trying to get some stuff set up. I already got in contact with some people that are supposed to be getting back to me about some investigation spots that we're going to be doing. Um, very excited. As I said before, here in Winnemucca, Nevada, we are very rich in history and sites that um, a lot of people don't really know about. Or when you're visiting or you're coming through, we're just one of those little, everybody sees us as just being a little rinky-dink town, as a stopping spot between Reno and Elko on their way through to Idaho or wherever they might be going to the East Coast. But this place has a lot of history, and we are glad that we are able to get some evidence and some investigation time here in town. And it's not only just here in town, like I said, it's also going to be uh, in the local surrounding areas that we're going to be doing some investigating spots at. Um, I just wanted to give a good introduction. Just wanted to let everybody know who I was, put a face with the team, because I know a lot of people are not sure. They're like, "Man, who the heck are these people?" And I've called some people, and they're like, "Yeah, we've heard of you, but we haven't seen your guys's page or whatever." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, well, I just wanted to give you a call and let you know what was going on and say hello and introduce myself." Um, my name is Raul, and as I said, I'm the lead investigator for this paranormal team that we have here in Winnemucca, Nevada. My wife, Kelsey, is my co-lead investigator. She's also the co-founder of our team, and we started. Well, I've founded this group, High Desert Paranormal Investigators, back in 2019, um, with just a group page, not a podcast, but just a group page back in 2019 when we first moved here. When I first moved, and I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've always been doing investigations since 1996. When I lived in Fresno, California, with the house that we lived in there on Blackstone Avenue, with the creepy crap that was going on, just growing up and seeing a lot of the things that we saw growing up in that house is what really triggered um, not just that, but just things throughout my life. Now that I started getting older, just in being able to investigate a lot of these locations, um, and being able to travel around. My father was in the military for 23 years, so we were able to um, see a lot of places. Europe. My dad was in Korea. I did my time in the military, 2003 to 2009, traveling all over the place, Korea, Europe, the Middle East, and being able to document a lot of evidence and experiences that I saw and was able to experience while we were there doing a lot of investigations with some of my pals and my buddies. So shout out to all my brothers out there that were right alongside me doing those investigations that we were able to do uh, in Germany and in Korea, like I said, in the Middle East, being able to see a lot of local sites that we were able to physically put our hands on ancient sites that were over 2,000 years old and see local burial sites of religious people, and actually being able to touch and go through locations where um, Abraham had walked through that were sacred sites, and actually seeing the eternal flame. I'll post some of those pictures on the site here when I get done. But being a local town, and actually being able to expand, or being able to see these sites and touch this stuff and experience the things that you're able to experience, being an investigator, um, the essence of what we do. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback on my headphones. Let me see. There we go. The essence of what we do is trying to capture evidence of the afterlife. Are we able to talk with those who have passed on? Are we able to collect evidence, or have these spirits communicate, um, manipulate objects, manipulate things that are around us? Collecting that evidence is evidence that after we die, you're just not, gone. You just don't dissipate. You just don't go into the ether. Your spirit leaves your body, and that energy never dies. It never dissipates. It always continues on. So the evidence that we gather substantiates the fact that we are able to still be in the present, in a different dimension, but interacting with those that are still living. So if we are able to do those things, that substantiates that, yes, we don't just go away and, are not able to talk with people, or interact with people, or talk to the loved ones that we've left behind. We are still able to do those things. We are still able to communicate, and talk with people, and move objects, or show ourselves to these people, because there's a lot of times that these spirits will manifest and show themselves to you when you do investigations. And when you get those type of investigations, it really validates what you're trying to do, because capturing that evidence is like the holy grail of paranormal investigating. And I just, like I said, I just want to welcome everybody who is a follower of the group. And I just want to say thank you guys, for subscribing. And I know we haven't posted a lot of stuff, but as I said, I'm trying to get a lot of stuff set up so that way we can do things, and it's not just going to be locally here in town. I am also going to be going out into California at some sites, and I'm trying to work with the people who bought the house that we lived in growing up, and see if they will allow me to go in the house and capture some of the things that I witnessed as a child growing up. Because I can tell you right now, with some really, it it shook me to my bones. Let me just say that. Not only seeing the apparitions, hearing it, experiencing it, feeling it, waking up with scratches, and actually seeing whatever this young girl was that we saw, seeing her physically manifested in that house, that was to me the turning point for, um, me experiencing something that was truly negative. I had not mentioned anything to anybody when I experienced this. Um, Let me give you a rundown of background of what really made this a me wanting to do or get into this subject. As you know, I am also um, the the owner of Seeker of the Unknown. I do have that podcast as well, which I talk about unknown things, or getting into ancient history, getting into a lot of things that, like aliens, UFOs, et cetera, et cetera. Um, this being totally separate from that, I just, when it started for me was experiences that I had when I was growing up, when I was younger. Um, Seeing my grandfather when I was 8 years old, when my dad was stationed in Vilseck, Germany, at our off base housing. Never met my grandfather, never knew him, never talked to him, never experienced him, never had time to sit down, never had those grandfather grandson talks. But I seen him in the spirit form, and I validated that with my mother, who asked me, because like I said, I've never met my grandfather. She said, "Okay, here's some pictures, pick him out." And I'm like, 8 years old, and I'm sitting here going through my photo album, and I'm like, "That's him right there. That's grandpa. He's the man that I saw." And she just like went white because, like I said, I've never met him. I've never brought him up. I've never said anything about my grandfather. But that to me was the beginning of experiencing things, because I was always in tune with just the unknown. I would have outer body experiences when I was a child, like you seen in Insidious, because a lot of people uh, realize that when you sleep is the closest point that you are going to be to death. Your body actually drops its awareness and goes into that spirit state, that where your spirit is able to, your essence of who you are. As a child, we are so in tune with that because we are more sensitive and we are more open to those connections and those connectivities. I used to have these experiences where I would see things or be out of body, where I would see other things and things that would scare the crap out of me. And my mother would wake me up and be shaking me like, "What's going on?" So, fast forwarding to when we moved to Fresno and we moved into this house. This house was over 150 years old. It used to be, from what we gathered, it was a funeral home where they would have services for people in the house, and actually have places where they would hold the bodies before they would do the viewings to get them prepared for those services. Um, Sorry, I'm gonna turn my phone off. I got family members messaging me talking about how we're gonna go down there. Um, so being in this house, I experienced a lot of things. My cousins who would spend the night in this house, I would, talk to them like, dude, doors open up by themselves, or we hear stuff in the house. You'll hear voices or you'll hear something. And they're like, ah, nah. And so one night, the first experience that I remember was my cousins staying the night at the house. We were all in our back room, and we heard something walking across and the back, next to the wall outside with its hands scratching. As I heard this sound, was like, okay, somebody's outside. My first initial thought was, go get dad. So I ran and I, told my dad, somebody's outside, somebody's scratching on the wall, because it was not a good neighborhood. It was, but we had a 6 foot high iron rotted fence that went around the house front and back. So for, a crackhead or whatever, or a homeless person to jump over that fence, it was hard, because the only places that you would be able to do that, if unless you had a ladder or you jumped over with the handle knob to get into the fence. But we had a pit bull at the time, a blue nose, American blue nose pit. My dad got up, walked around the house, didn't find anything. We had gatherings of family members that had came over to the house after that, and we're standing there in the kitchen, and I'm talking to my cousins. We're, joking around or whatever, and the door right next to my cousin, I'm facing both of them. The door's right behind them, to my left, and I'm, talking to him, and the doorknob just turned. The door opened. My cousin, like, his eyes just got big, and he looked and he goes, "Did that fucking door just open?" And I go, "Yeah, bro." I said, "I told you." And he's like, "Hell no. Dude, I'm never staying at your house again." And from that point on, we did a lot of investigating. We went underneath the house. We found a lot of new, newspaper clippings. We found infant shoes, the old little leather ones. Um, we found what looked to be bones. And as I said, this house, when we moved into 1996, was already 150 years old. So you can only imagine now, and the house is still there. It's a part. It should be made into a historical site because of the things that were there at the house and the information that we got. We saw a lot of things. I would be there alone at the house, hearing footsteps walking around, waking up with scratches. I actually literally got on, for those of us who are old enough and have been around to remember phone lines with the cords on the wall. I picked up the phone and I'm calling my mom because I'm scared out of my mind because I'm hearing this stuff. And I told her, I was like, "Mom, something's in the house right now." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" My mom and dad were very religious people. Heaven and hell, spirits don't just linger around. They either go or they're, going to get tormented for the sins that they did. Um, as I said, my thing was is that I experienced it. I always knew that there had to be something more to the afterlife. There had to be something that was going on. And it really intrigued me. And it's kind of strange for a kid who's 12, 14, 16, growing up, but experiencing these things in your house and in your home, it really opens up your mind because you're like, I'm seeing this stuff happen. I'm getting scratched here and I'm waking up and I'm hearing things or I'm seeing something in my room or in the house. But as I said, I'm on the phone talking to my mother and I'm like, "Mom, somebody's in the house." And as I'm talking to my mom, whatever it was walked right through me through the hallway. The phone got staticky. She heard it and she was like, "What was that?" I also sat in the living room by myself. And as I'm sitting in the living room, I'm watching, I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, because it was around Halloween time. So they had all these, shows on cable, playing movies, horror movies. And like I said, my parents never let me watch it. They would never allow me to. So they were not in the house. I'm probably going to tell on myself right now. My mom's probably going to be like, "I knew it." But, I was not allowed to watch stuff like that. But as I'm sitting in the living room watching this stuff in my father's office in a separate room, he had a desk, set up with his paperwork, his computer, and yada, yada, yada. I heard somebody slap, like what it sounded like, and paperwork just flutter and fly all over the place. I'm freaking out and I'm like, "Who the heck?" Because I'm the only one there. I'm like 12 years old, 12, 14 years old at this point. I get up, walk into the office. I don't hear anything, but as soon as I walk into that office, something walked out. I could hear it go through the dining room, and that was it. A turning point for me at that spot that I remember was I was putting something in the microwave and I'm sitting there waiting for it to be done. I think it was like macaroni and cheese or something. And as I'm standing there doing my macaroni and cheese and I look over out of my peripheral vision, see what my mind is perceiving as a young girl. Now, she had on an old Victorian nightgown. It was white. Went down to her hands because I can remember seeing the fluff around her hands, both of them. And her hands, she was just doing this, but her head was down and her hair was black, hanging down over her face on the side. I could totally see it. Hair hanging down. She's just sitting there. But look at my arms. I'm getting chills just thinking about this. Her fucking eyes were like red, but I'll never forget it because her eyes looked like dots of fire, but they were dark and hollow. And I just like said, "Fuck this," and I left. I got out of the house. I went across the street to Burger King, and like I said, this is in the 90s. I called my mom and my dad and I said, I'm not going back into that house until you get home. You will not believe what I saw. So my parents come home and I'm telling them all this. I'm crying because I'm like, I swear I saw what I saw. My mother takes me to the room, sits me down, and says, "You know what, son? I saw the same thing in my dream." She showed me her journal. In her journal, she wrote down 4 years prior to that about what she had saw in the house, and it was exactly what I saw. I swear to God, that's what defined exactly what I knew. Something was different. Something was going on. It started boosting my intrigue to get into this stuff. I started going around to family members' house. I remember my aunt who lived on A Street. Her fucking house was haunted because I remember seeing things in there and I would tell her about it and I would tell my parents like I would see people walking around the house at night. Her house was over 200 years old in Madera, California, and will never forget that house as well because that house used to scare me when I was little because I would literally see people walking around and I believe from what I was told my grandfather had passed away in that house. I did not know this until later on. So, as I said, this investigation team that I started here in town, I have been doing this. Like I said, in my later years when I became a soldier in the United States Army and the infantry, being able to travel around and see places, my intrigue was history. I love history. I loved seeing the culture. I loved seeing and interacting with people and getting stories about things that in their culture, about what they believe to be the afterlife, what they believe to be spirits that would roam around, or how they would deal with things because cultures believe that differently, that spirits either linger around or there are things that they do ritualistically that would help keep the spirits appeased. And you got to remember, this stuff goes back long time. You have the ancient pagans who used to do on All Hallows Eve, they would put out gourds of food and things to appease the spirits that were able to walk the earth. And it was something to say as a blessing to them, goodwill in the afterlife. We still care about you. We still think about you. Please don't harm us. Even in Asian cultures, they do the same thing. There are boxes that they call spirit temples where they keep these spirits that are, it's a way to appease them, to keep them there. So that way, if they, when they're in the afterlife, they're not being tormented or they're not um, causing ill will to the family members or the people that are around in the communities. I know in Korea, they call them happy mounds. These mounds are mounds that are, you'll find them when we would go out into training sectors and we would be out in areas doing training at that time. And like I said, it's nighttime. You've got night vision. You're just there with your battle buddy or four or five other people, and you're seeing shit that you shouldn't be seeing. I know that we would wake up and things would be gone. And for us, we used to call them sneaky boys. But we knew it was Ajima that would come through, who is, Ma. They would tell us, don't freaking let Ma come in here because she would take stuff and they would turn around and sell it. But there were things that were happening that not only myself, I had battle buddies that were with me because, like I said, we're loaded to the teeth with the gear, night vision goggles on, and we're sitting there scanning our sectors or we're doing night patrol. We would see stuff. I can't explain it. I can't explain, I mean, I recall one night we were out doing patrol. We had concertina wire set up around our perimeter. Okay. And we had our different fire teams, fire team 1, 2, 3, and 4, set up in our positions. Now, anybody who's ever been in the military knows that when you have secure patrols like that and you have sentinels on guard, you have that person know a secret password. So if I tell you, example, you have in Saving Private Ryan when they were going through Europe and they were calling out fire. their password that they would hear back was thunder. And you have those code words that you would say out, and if somebody responded to you something different, you knew that that person was not did not need to be there. I remember that we were sitting on patrol. It was me and one other guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but we were sitting on patrol on guard duty on sentry duty, and I told him, "Dude, somebody's out there. Like, do we have any?" I got on the radio. I told him get on the radio and ask if there's anybody out, outside of the wire. So we get on radio and he's like, "No, nobody's supposed to be out there. What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, well, I'll let you know. I think there's somebody that might be out here." So my squad leader comes and he's like, "What are you seeing?" And I'm like, telling him the direct, since how far it is. And I'm like, look over there where, you know, the trees where it starts because we were in an opening. Sure as shit, around midnight, we're sitting there and you could see what looked like somebody walking in and out of the tree line, like walk, gone. Like you would see them. I did not know, like I said, until I started doing research on my history, that where we were at was actual battle sites from when the United States or when the Southern Korean armies were fighting the Chinese during World War II. There were people that were still buried because when we would dig foxholes or we would dig holes and trenching holes, we would find artifacts left from that freaking war. Now, going ahead on into Europe, being in the military still during the last phase of, and I was in the 101st in Kentucky, and I did a lot of patrolling, and we did a lot of stuff that we saw there, and I did a lot of investigating there as well when I was there because you have the Civil War that took place on a lot of those grounds and those areas within the Kentucky Tennessee area, and being able to uh, go to those sites and see them and actually staying the night out in freaking old battlefields. There were spots that we were staying at that the old cemeteries for the Civil War soldiers that were not marked, but the stone heads of where these people were buried and laid to rest that were unmarked. We would stumble across this stuff. In Europe, one of the fascinating places that we got to investigate, because like I said, you got free range to just visit these sites. I was stationed in Baumholder, Germany at the time, which was 1/6 infantry. Um, that site was a training spot for the SS troops at the time, the facility that we were now occupying after World War II. During that time, it was Hitler's Panzer Tank Division training center for all of the Nazi soldiers um, to do their field training and exercises for their battalions and their different groups that they had there, their different divisions. So we were able to look at some of the buildings that they have there. If you go on Google, you will find that in the buildings themselves, because all these buildings are the same. They have not changed except for some modifications that they did to the roads and yada 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 and the roofs and stuff like that. But everything there is still the same. If you look at pictures now and you go back to World War II, you will see that the field is still there, the training field is still there, and it has pictures of the SS and the Nazi soldiers in the parade area with the Panzers. That area and location, we got to walk and see and experience that. And not only on post, but off post, we were able to experience a lot of the uncharted spots. There were Nazi memorial tank division lost soldiers or soldiers who had died during World War II memorial areas way out in the woods that we investigated that still had defense positions that had not been torn down and still had cabling systems For the radios and electricity to run to these outposts, it was exciting because you get to walk in this area and you get to investigate it. We had captured a lot of stuff. We were taking pictures and we were capturing freaking SS soldiers, orange silhouettes of these soldiers walking with us through the woods. I had brought along some of my buddies. Like I said, I'm not going to mention any names, um, but they were not believers. They were like, "Oh man, I'll go with you, bro, but there ain't shit out there. Yeah, I don't believe in this crap." But as we're investigating and we're walking, no cars, no vehicles, no bikes, no nothing, just out in the woods investigating these spots of these pre-Nazi training facilities and memorial sites that they had for these tanker divisions, panzer divisions, um, and capturing this evidence of these spirits that were still lingering in the area, walking around with us. That's the intriguing thing, is that it shows that the spirits, when you die, even when you die of natural causes, if you are at peace and you are at rest and you choose not to stay here because you're like, I've done my time, I've done my experience, I believe in karma, I believe in reincarnation, I believe that the spirit leaves and we are able to transcend dimensions, because that's what our spirit is. It's a multi-dimensional source, and um, communicating and experiencing the afterlife and communicating with these spirits that have passed on. You get a lot of spirits who have died in tragic events. It was not their time to go. They still cannot believe that they have died and they do not want to accept that fact. So they linger around, and capturing those spirits, and trying to find out what happened to you, what was going on, what do you need, trying to help them understand that it's okay. We're sorry that you died. You're sorry that you passed on. Respecting the people who have passed, respecting them, because they are still the essence of that person that they were when they died. When they died, or when they were alive, excuse me, they are still them. So they, inside, I mean, this is just a shell. The essence of who we are as people is in here, is that spirit that's inside of this vessel. Now, when you pass on, this is just me, sharing my thoughts on this. I mean, there's many, 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 many different theories and thoughts on this. But when you pass on, you're still you. You don't just leave this body and like, oh well, that's Raul, see you later, and just go on to your essence. Um, One of the biggest things that I would caution people to um, be weary on, because I've experienced this not only personally but with other people who have done things with me. Uh, as I said, in Europe, I had some soldiers and I had some people that I would take with me. We went to Eder Oberstein. There was an outpost that was old during the Roman emperor, during the Roman occupation times, where you had an outpost between traveling sectors that Roman guards would occupy. It was like a waypoint. So if I was traveling from one destination to another, there was a station where I could stop, get rest, get food, get some supplies, and then carry on with my travels. So we go to Eder Oberstein and investigate this outpost. Now, this is really cool to me because, like I said, I'm a history buff. I love history. We get to this location, okay? Has a cemetery, has an old church that was still there. The tower that is oversighted from the old that the Romans occupied, but it is ancient. It is old. It goes back to the Middle Ages, but it went from an outpost overlooking, that crossed over, had a bridgeway that went to another main building. There was about 6 of us that decided to go take a travel and go up there and go check this out. We get there. We decided to bring our Ouija board with us. and started trying to communicate with whoever was there. Now, the spirit that we were communicating with was the spirit of a little child that had died in the area. She was murdered. Um, and it was really like it was hesitant to talk, like it didn't want to have anything. It was like, not sure. So I had my buddy, he was communicating with her in German, trying to see if he could say anything or pick up on anything. Lo and behold, like I said, in doing a lot of these investigations, you'll find out that um, do they speak English? Do they understand, or are they able to communicate with us and understand what we're saying? And it does help when you do investigations to have either a device that can translate what you're saying into those languages. So that way these spirits are able to talk to you, and you do get a lot of evidence that way, and you're able to capture something because these spirits are like, hey, this dude's speaking my language here. Yeah, I could talk to you. But while we were doing this investigation in Eder Oberstein, we had actually, um, let me close this real quick because it's slowing down my thing. We had actually been able to communicate with this child. Now it stopped, and we were asking, "Do you not want to talk to us?" Nothing. And as we're sitting here talking. As I said, the archway of the outpost. We were in an enclosure that was around in the tower. There was a walkway that went to the main building that the spiral staircase goes down. Now, like I said, this is a building that's from the Middle Ages, and you had slots from where the archers and the outlookers would look, and they'd be able to shoot, intruders or defend the position that they needed to if they needed to. And it was a full moon. So as out of the peripheral vision of us, and some of us, like I said, we were in a circle. So I'm sitting here looking this way, the walkway's this way. We're around in a circle. We were taking pictures at the same time, and as we were taking pictures, there was mist that we could not explain that was lingering around in that area. So my buddy, I told him, I said, dude, just keep taking pictures. If you feel like you need to, just keep taking them. But out of the peripheral vision, out of what I was seeing, somebody was walking, a shadow was blocked because the light was coming through the slits and you could see the moonlight on the wall. It was getting blocked out. And I asked, we kept asking, is there somebody here that you do not like? It said, yes. Is there somebody here that you would like to leave the group? It said, yes. So I said, do you want me to leave? It said, no. We took turns going around in the circle. I shit you not. It got to my buddy Kyle, who was of German ancestry, who had German descendants, who lived in the area. I didn't know this until afterwards. It told him yes when he asked. So he leaves. He goes across the corridor, goes down the stairwell, walks out the church through the courtyard, is not even in the building. And our other buddy is asking in German, does he have something to do with why you passed away? It said yes. And we said, did you know his ancestors? Yes. Who were they? I will bring him on the show. Let me see if I can get a hold of him right now so he can validate what I'm telling you, because he'll tell you the same thing. Give me a second. Let me see if I can get him on the phone too. I know it's really difficult. People will be uh, skeptics. I get it. I totally get it. I'm the same way with certain things. You got to be cautious with what you're. Let's see if I can get him on the phone. Hey, brother, how you doing? You're breaking up, bro.
said it's funny you called. I was thinking of calling you later on tonight, man.
Hey, are you busy, man?
Not right now. On my way home, driving home to the house.
Okay.
Sit down and eat dinner when I get home. What's up?
Hey, I'm doing my podcast for our paranormal group, Paranormal High Desert Paranormal Investigators, and I was just going over the investigation we did at Eder Wilberstein at that old Roman outpost. Remember that? I was just talking to them about how when we did that investigation, there was about 6 of us standing in that tower doing the Ouija board, and the little girl had said that she wanted you to leave.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, can you do me a favor and just explain, like, to them, because I got you on microphone right now. I'm gonna see if I can't connect it to my freaking thing so they can hear you.
Dude, so it was wild. So we were up in the tower, and I honestly, I was a new guy in the group, so I thought everybody was with me at first, but come to find out years later it was legit. But so we were out there with the Ouija board, and there was an entity there that I think Bellucci had got contact with.
Right.
And we were asking it a bunch of questions, and it whatever it was wouldn't answer it until I left. And then they shoot, I don't remember the full way that it went, but know that one of the questions was asked, is there somebody in the group that you don't want around? And I went, yes. I said, who? Can you tell us? And it started spelling out HARDER. It spelled out the original last name spelling of my mother's maiden name, who originated from that area in the like 16th or 17th century.
Right.
So they were all a bunch of bastard Germanic, basically assholes.
Fucking goddamn barbarians.
Killed a bunch of people. Got ran out of that area of Germany. But yeah, it started spelling out my mom's maiden name, and freaked hell out. So I was like, well, you know what? I guess I'll leave. And I guess as soon as I left, it started talking up a storm.
Right. And do you remember the pictures that we got? Because all that shit started happening when we started seeing.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of orbs and everything. Cause I think it was either Earl. Can't remember if it was Earl or Purdom that was taking the pictures.
Taking the pictures.
I think it was Ether that was taking the pictures. One of them was taking pictures.
Yeah, because
when they got them developed, man, there were a whole bunch of orbs and.
Remember that mist that was hanging around in the room? It looked like somebody was smoking.
Yeah, I thought it was a fog, but you step out of the castle into the main courtyard, and
bright full moon.
Up.
Yeah,
it cleared up. And it had like a purplish hue to it, I think.
Exactly. And remember when we went, Earl was standing right before the steps, and he told us, because he was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. He was going to leave.
He was freaking the fuck out, dude.
Yeah, he wanted to leave. And do you remember what he said he saw when he looked down that spiral staircase?
No, I don't remember what he said he saw off the top of my head.
Yeah, he said that he had seen somebody like looking up at him, and we went over there, and sure as shit, I told Purdom, I was like, dude, keep taking pictures. We caught that entity of whatever it was looking up at us. And remember, we were going, well, you had left. We were going down the staircase, and I kept telling it, please just let us go. We don't mean you any harm. But like I said, I wanted to get him to see if he still had the pictures. He probably doesn't, because, I mean, fuck, dude, it's been years. But yeah, dude,
honestly, Purdom said he still has a bunch of photos from Germany.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I'm going to get a hold of him and try and see if he can't send any of that stuff to me, so that way I could post it to the page.
No worries. What time are you going live?
Well, I'm on live right now, dude. You're on.
Oh,
right
are you?
You're on right now, dude. So, if you want, like I said, just if you want me to bring you on, I'll send you an invite, and you can do it, so that way they can.
Yeah, no problem. Let me shovel some food down my neck real quick, because I've been getting at it all day. It's been a busy week, man.
Yeah, no worries, bro. Just message me when you're ready.
Yes, sir. Will do.
And see if you can't get a hold of Purdom, bro.
Oh yeah, good luck. I haven't been
Yeah.
able to get a hold of him since that dude found pussy.
All right, brother. Well, I'll go get yourself full of some food, man, and I'll just let me know when you're ready.
Yes, sir. Will do.
All
Later.
right, bro. All right. So, like I said, I mean, we did a lot of crazy stuff. I've been doing this for a minute now. So, um, the aspects that the team brings to the table is I've studied demonology. As I said, both of my parents were pastors. Since I was at the age of 5. I studied the Bible. I've studied. I've talked with other people in the Middle East. I have my buddy who was our interpreter. That him and I conversed a lot about religious aspects or spiritual aspects of life and what they believe in and what things that um, pretty much make them understand that yes, when we die, we do not die in the sense that we're gone. We do linger on. There are things that are evil and demonic um, that can influence or manifest or trick people to believe certain things, which is why I say that, people are like, well, I don't mess with the Ouija board. Well, I understand that. There are, and there are these, if you are not prepared or not yes, it can be harmful to you. It can attach things to you if it's done in the improper way. You see a lot of these people on TikTok. You see a lot of these young kids doing this, pencil thing where they're calling Peter Peter or whatever the heck his name is, or yada, yada, yada. These are people that are just trying to sit there and use that as a means of, oh, well, let me make a video. It's pretty cool. And then you see these pictures of these people getting possessed by these entities that they're trying to talk to, that they have no idea of what they're doing because using it as a joke. It's a game to them. So I warn people, do not do things that you are not able to or have no understanding of. Because yes, it will hurt you and you will manifest something that can attach itself to you. Now, having said that, bringing the aspect of demonology, religious aspects, because I'm not a religious person myself, I'm a spiritual person. And as I said, growing up in a Catholic Christian home and studying and seeing other people in Buddhism and in the Muslim faith, um, and talking to a lot of people about a lot of the spiritual aspects of things while I was in the military. And I still keep in contact with people to today. And I still reach out to people and I still study a lot of this stuff. I mean, books, knowledge, and everything is key. If the more you know, the more you're going to be able to arm yourself or be able to handle a lot of things. And that's why I say that going into and delving into this stuff, it is for us, our team. We bring the knowledgeable aspect of our investigations to the table because it's not just going in there and saying, okay, well, let's have a good time and let's talk. Let's see what's going on here. Do you have an issue with what's going on in this place? Have you seen or have you experienced anything in this place? Does it feel like it's bad? If it does feel bad, if something you're feeling, a tap, a move, things are opening and closing, or you're getting you are trying to tell you something that way, and now we know an avenue of where we got to go. Which is why our team tries to sit down and talk to the people in the areas or the locations that we're investigating because I want to get a feel of what's going on before I step into this place. Excuse me. It's not like it's like, going into a fight. I want to know who I'm fighting first before I freaking get into the ring with them or get it my butt into that conflict. Because if I don't know my enemy, then I'm not going to understand. I'm going in there blind. I'm not going to be prepared for what I'm going to deal with. And I'm just going to be going in there just trying to, overthrow this guy when I don't know his strengths or his weaknesses. The same thing in every aspect of an investigation that you do. You want to be prepared and knowledgeable before you go into these locations and are able to deal with whatever you're dealing with at that location, whether it be negative or whether it just be an entity or a spirit that's trying to communicate and is lost or doesn't understand that they're dead. Because, as I said, in a tragic incident, if somebody is to pass on in the spiritual aspect nature of things, that spirit does not recognize that it's gone and it's just lingering in limbo because it doesn't know that it can just, okay, I'm okay. Let me just pass on and just go into, the eternity of peace. Or let me come back and deal with the situation that I was tormented with. Um, Getting that information from the spirits or the entities that are there, oops, um, is one of the ways to deal with things. Now, going back to how you investigate or the objects or things that you use to communicate that you can do. Nowadays, with electronic, if these entities or these spirits can communicate with us, it's like, it's baffling. But back before this was like a big thing, there were simple devices and simple ways of being able to communicate or get a reaction out of what you were trying to communicate with. Um, so there are different ways to do this. And I know that people are, I had a lot of people say, well, if you're going to bring a Ouija board, I don't want to have anything to do with it. That's fine. That is totally fine. And as I said, I've done it before in different locations where I had my sister, God rest her soul, when she had an issue here in town with her ex-husband. He was living in a location, and the location, him and his roommate, because he was a minor, he was living in the location, and they were having problems. They'd wake up in the morning, the air conditioner or the heater would be on and it was messing with it, and they'd have to go in there and turn it down, turn it off. The lights would come on, the refrigerators would be wide open, their crap would be thrown inside of the hallway out of his closet. And he was like, "Hey, bro, do you want to come into the location and try and help me figure this out?" I was like, "Yeah, man, we'll go." So my sister, God rest her soul, and her then husband was the only. I told him, if we do this, it's just going to be us, bro. I don't want to bring everybody else because if it's bothering you and it's doing something to you, you're the key. So let's find out what this entity has a message for you, why it's doing this, why is it here. So I brought the Ouija board. He was kind of reluctant, but I told him, "Don't worry, dude. We're going to do this right, and we're going to fix this, and we're going to make sure that thing is going on afterwards." So I do what I have to do to secure the Ouija board and the area of what we're investigating. Now, him, and I are sitting there. We start communicating with whatever was there. We find out that it was a young man, uh, 33, I think he said his age was. Between 25 and 35. He was a young man who had died there. We asked him, "Why are you here?" He says, "I can't leave." "Why can't you leave?" He was like, "This is my home." And we were telling him, I told him, I said, "Bro, talk to him, tell him, what's going on, because you can't be here anymore. You're causing all this havoc. You're making our life restless. We need you to leave. What is it that you need from us to help you move on?" He was saying that he died. We asked him, "Where did you die in this house? Did you die in this area?" It said, "Yes." "Do you know that you can leave? You don't have to be here anymore." He was like, "I don't want to. This is my home." And I said, "Holy crap." So I'm going and I'm telling, I'm having him do it because this is his home. It's not my home. He wants him to leave, so he's telling him, we're sorry that you left. We're sorry that you don't want to leave. This was your home, but we live here now. This is our home. We have things. We're trying to live in the now. We're trying to get on with our lives, and you're just making it hectic. So we go through the whole step of trying to get him to understand that he can't be doing the things that he's doing because he's causing unrest with him and his roommate. And we close out the session. He never had a problem there in the house again. Um, Fast forward to 7 years after when I move into town, and um, my sister-in-law, like I said, God rest her soul. I wish she could have been here to validate this, but I'm pretty sure if I get a hold of my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, her ex-husband, he can validate what was being said and what happened that night, and I'll try and do that. She moves into a location next to this building. And I told her, "Hey, man, remember when we were there at the house and we were doing?" She goes, "Oh yeah." She was like, "Crazy shit." I found out that the person who owns this building, the house where he was renting it from, his family member in this next building where I'm staying at, and the other house is right next to it. He killed himself in the building. Told me his name, told me his age, and I said, "How fucking crazy is that?" That we got that evidence to validate and substantiate what we had did 7 years prior to that. She found out and told me because I had went, I was moving into town and we were hanging out and we were going to go get something to eat, yada yada yada. And she told me, I told her, I was like, "Hey, remember that's the same place we were at." She goes, "Yeah, that's it." That validated for me and for her and for him that what we did that day was indeed that person that she found out that had committed that suicide in the building that was right next to where he was living. So that's why I say if you use tools that you are not comfortable with or you are not ready to get into, that's fine. But know what you're doing. Know that these tools are, yes, tools to communicate with people or entities that have passed on. But for some people, it is not something that they are comfortable with doing because they do not understand or do not know how to handle it. I do not condone it. I am not condoning it now. I am not saying that it's okay for you to go out and dabble in something that is not knowledgeable to you. Please don't do it. Okay. If you're going to mess with something, be prepared for the consequences of what's going to come or attach itself to you. That's what I'm saying. Um, Let me get Kyle on here. Copy the link. Um, I like I said, I've been doing this for a while. I have dabbled in the occult. I have understood certain aspects of how to perform things where it's done in a proper way, where you are either protecting yourself or you are guarding yourself or you are holding things so that way it does not leave. Um, from that aspect, all right. I'm gonna put this on here real quick. Let me give this to him real quick. Let me get on Facebook. I'm gonna shoot him this link. Let me go to my page. Ah, there he is. I see you, bro. Give me a second. All right, there you go, bro. I gotcha. Don't worry. Um, as I said before, the investigation aspect of what we do is to gather the information. If somebody's having problems or they're having issues to the point where they cannot get this crap out of their location or their area, there's ways of dealing with it. There's ways of going about that. But to investigate a spot that has so much history and so much culture, and there are spirits that are still lingering around there because that location or that area is something that they don't want to leave. That was their life. That's where they wanted to be. So like when we did the Be Still body piercing shop here in Winnemucca, and I think Melissa, thank you so much for allowing us to come in there. We were getting, if you look on the videos that we have posted on Facebook and YouTube on our site, High Desert Paranormal Investigators, you'll see. Oop, I'm sorry, bro. Hold on. There he is, my man.
Well,
Hold on, brother.
us.
So, like I said, bro, I was just going over some stuff about doing paranormal investigation stuff and how I've been doing this for fucking years, bro. And it hasn't just been something local; it's something that I've done. And um, you being a witness to the shit that we dealt with not only just going to these sites and investigating it, but even being able to be out there in some of the training fields and the shit that we would see, because these are sites that were actual World War II locations where
Oh
people
yeah,
died, and the spirits
yeah,
of these people are still walking around, and we were actually seeing this shit.
yeah. Bombholder was home to an entire SS regiment. Like
Right,
they,
right.
there was over 5,000 SS troopers there, both troopers and support personnel.
Yeah,
Um, that entire area over there, so close to France. It was even during World War One, it was a highly contested area. You have sites north of Eder Oberstein that were major sites of battles for German offenses going into World
right.
War One.
And like I said, when we one thing that really, remember the time when I was on CP duty, not CP duty, but I was on staff duty in the building, and the guys were fucking around with the Ouija board in the room, Belucci and them, and they were like, "Sergeant Sam, you got to come up here real quick." And I'm like, "Hold on, dude, give me a minute." And I walk up there, and they're messing with the Ouija board, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing, dude? Like, you guys are just fucking around with shit, and you're like calling these things." And then come to find out, remember that night, Bellucci, after that night, he woke up and his shit was thrown all over the barracks room because he had brought that shit from Eder Oberstein. Oop, hold on, bro. Hold on. I can't hear you.
Oh shit! There we go. I had
There
my
you go.
microphone muted because I had a lot of background noise. Hang on one second.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no. So I honestly thought that Vellucci was just fucking around and that like he did it himself or that Ward, drank too many freaking Mickey's grenades and decided to go ape
Right.
shit on the room. But no, it was neither one of them. I don't even think Ward stayed the night in the room that night. I think he passed out
No.
over him.
Yeah, because we were out on PT and we left the building and we came
Right.
back, and that's when he came downstairs and he was like, "Look at my fucking room." And like the guys were freaking out, and we go in there and his fucking bed, mattress is flipped, his fucking cabinet was tore up.
Everything.
And I
Yeah.
was like, "Dude, what the hell?" And I was like, "Dude, tell me you didn't." And I looked in his windowsill and he had that brick or that piece of the fucking castle from the graveyard. And I go,
Yeah,
"Dude, what?"
dumbass. He brought a chunk of it home.
I
He
asked
brought a
him, I go,
recall
"What is
stone
that?"
home.
Yeah, I go, "What is that?" And he goes, I brought it back from our thing at Eder Oberstein." And I'm like, "What? Why
What
would
did
you
he ever
do
do
that,
with that? Did
dude?"
he keep that son bitch?
Yeah, he
He
kept it,
still,
dude.
I
And I
bet you,
told him, I said,
I bet you he still has that thing.
yeah, I bet he does, dude. I bet he does.
Crazy bastard.
But that's what I mean, bro, is
Yeah.
it was really cool because we got to experience something overseas. And that's the great thing about what I mean, obviously we were in a shitty time when we were in combat, and we
Yeah.
lost a lot of friends and we lost a lot of brothers. But being able to experience these places and historical sites, I mean, it was just like rich in history, dude. And that's why I said, like, right now, living where we live, here in Winnemucca, and putting this paranormal investigative group together, investigating these sites. Um, like I said, I mean, I tried to teach the guys, I told them, this is things you do and you don't do, because I remember, like I said, that night they called me up to the room and they had the Ouija board and they had that big ass fat candle. And I was like, okay, let me know if you're here. And the candle would like, it would get hella
Oh,
high, and like,
yeah.
what the hell? And
Yeah, dude.
this thing,
I
whatever
couldn't
it
explain
was,
the candle, man. That shit was wild.
yeah. And, you know, just
So,
whatever was coming through. I remember it was saying that it was my grandmother. And I remember it was weird because I told the guys, I was like, hold on. I stepped back from it and I go, they were like, what's up? And I said, this thing is trying to say that it's my grandmother. And they were like, they wrote down, that's why they got me, because it was saying Samaripa. And that's why they went and grabbed me. And it was supposedly saying it was my grandmother. And I don't remember if you were in the room when I smelt what I smelled.
mm,
And I told everybody, I go, do you smell that? And the guys were like, it smells like roses. And that's
uh-huh.
what tripped me out, because that's what I associated with my grandmother. But
Yeah, right,
I was like, nah, dude, this is not my grandmother. Like, don't try and play games with me and sit here and tell
right,
me there's no reason for her to be trying to get a hold of me. So that's where I was like trying to differentiate. And I was telling the guys, like, you need to really fucking watch what you're doing, because if you start in messing with this, you're gonna bring something through that you do not want to
right,
come through.
right.
And I told him, I said, I'm gonna go now. Like, if you guys need help and anything happens, and sure as shit, that next day, fucking Belucci's room was tore up, dude. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I don't know, man. It was weird. Like they're up there. When we were up in the tower, man. Like I know I wasn't paying it no mind. I didn't really think anything of it until we got
Yeah,
up there. And dude, it started spelling out my mom's maiden name. And my mom
yeah,
was big in genealogy. Like she grew up in the Mormon church. They were all about it. It's like part of their eternal duty is to trace their genealogy back to Adam, right?
right.
My mom, she I believe had to trace back to something like 15th century Germany at the time for her family line, and like 18th century Ireland for my dad's side of the house. But yeah, my mom, her family in Germany, they were a bunch of criminals. They were bad people.
Yeah.
They were they did a bunch of really bad shit to a lot of really good people.
And that's what
Um,
was crazy, bro, is because to validate that without you even knowing, until we got down there and we told you,
right,
this is what it told us. And
right,
we asked you, what was your family's maiden name? And you said
yeah,
what it was. And fucking Purdom showed you on the paper. He goes, look what it said.
yeah,
We
yeah.
didn't know that. We didn't know that.
It's like HARRDDR. It's harder or something like that. They some jackass at Ellis Island in 1920 fucked it up and changed it to Harter,
Yeah.
HARTER.
But yeah, man, I mean, even the barracks there, bro, like being on fucking staff duty at
Oh,
night, and
dude,
you
you'd
look
hear
out.
shit at night. You'd hear shit at night. It would get dead silent in the halls, and like you, I swear to God, man, you hear whispers. And when the walls are speaking German to you, it's like, Nichts sprechen Deutschen, homie. Get the fuck out of here. I'm good. I don't need to talk to you. I don't want to hear about what you did wrong in the war. Like, I don't care
Right.
about your regrets. Get the fuck on, dude.
Yeah. And the cool thing about it, man, is like I said, is being able to experience that stuff in locations like that. And
Did you ever experience
knowing,
any of that in Iraq? I know you were in
oh yeah, dude.
Ramadi, right, or Fallujah,
No, we were in Kirkuk, Iraq, in
Kirkuk.
the northern
Yeah,
by by the border. We were up in that whole sector up there,
yeah.
and we saw.
That's a triangle of murder up there.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, just talking with our interpreter and some of the people that we were able to engage with, and speaking to them, and seeing some of these historical holy sites, but also talking to them about what their thoughts were on the afterlife and the evil
Right.
jinn and spirits that linger around in the desert and snatch people up and, possess people or whatever. But yeah,
Right.
man, I mean, the Middle East is just the cradle of civilization for, the ancient Sumerians. I mean, we were there, you know, causing fucking havoc and stirring crap up. So there was a lot of shit that was freaking
Oh
going
yeah.
on, and I mean,
Afghanistan was
insane.
wild. Same thing, man. Afghanistan. I mean, fucking graveyard of empires. You can
Yeah,
feel the death in that entire area.
right.
It's just rampant. At night, stars come out. It's peaceful. You don't think about it too much, and then you start hearing shit on the wind, or you start like I know everybody and their mother has had hallucinations while they're wearing your MVGs. Everybody
I know
has.
we
You'd
just
be
talked about that.
if you say you didn't. If you say you didn't, then you never wore the damn things.
Right, or
Um,
you were just ignorant to the fact that you know what you saw, but you just didn't wanna say anything.
right, right, dude. All sorts of shit. You'd see glimmers of movement out of the corner of your MVGs, or you'd see something move across, and you just tie it off as, man, maybe that's just the tubes lying to me. But
I've
I
been up to
no,
I need
man.
to go look.
So it's wild. So we're talking about like paranormal and spirits coming back to visit. When I was in Afghanistan, dude, uh, hand on a Bible, man. I saw my grandfather. We had gotten into a pretty heavy tick. My truck got hit pretty heavy, and pulled myself out of it. And as I'm fucking sitting there trying to collect myself,
Mhm.
no shit, just this entity wearing uh, the old M1945 combat kit comes out of nowhere, says, "Get up or you're gonna die." They're right behind you. Get up or you're gonna die right now. Get the fuck up. And I look up and it's my grandfather. And I blinked my eyes and he was gone. And sure as shit, I turned to the right and there's about 15, 20 of them coming down the ridge right behind where we got hit.
Wow.
Freakiest thing in my life, man.
That's, what do you call that? Divine intervention?
Yeah, yeah, it had to be, dude.
Right?
Straight up, it had to be divine intervention. I probably would have been smoked meat that day had I
Oh,
not
yeah.
gotten up.
And that's the thing, bro, is, like, so
Call me
many of
Mr.
us have
Meatbag.
experienced or been so close to death. Yes, there are times we should not even be here. And there are
Absolutely not.
things yeah, there are things that happened where it was like, how in the hell did we walk away from that? Or how in the hell did I not get hurt? And, experiencing the divine intervention thing, it's like that aspect of whether you want to call it paranormal or spiritual aspect of it, that closeness that a lot of service members, I can't even imagine how many of our brothers and sisters have gone through that and have never told their story about what
Right,
happened.
because they don't want to be looked at like they're fucking nutters,
Yeah.
man.
Yes. And that's why I
But
said, man, is doing that and having this, reaching out to a lot of uh our fellow brothers and just reaching out and having a platform for people to come on here and share their paranormal experiences, because like I said, man, we dealing with that, that force of death,
yeah,
dealing with that aspect of, well, I could die right now, and coming close to those aspects, in combat, a lot of us experience some things that I know I can't fucking explain what I saw. And um like I said, just talking with our interpreters and stuff and just getting their feel of like, hey, dude, I saw this. And they're like, oh, yeah, you'll see this shit, dude. Like, just be real careful. Or, this place where we're going to is probably not really good because a lot of things have been seen here. And it's like, holy crap.
Right. It's wild. So, like in Iraq, everybody, it's a very modern country. There's not very much tribalism in Iraq left unless you go up towards the Kurdish territories in the north.
Yeah.
But in Afghanistan, dude, it's prevalent fucking everywhere. Right. So, I mean, you have
The tribes are there
individuals,
that have been there for thousands of years. They still do the same thing.
Pashtun, not tribal nomads, man. They get sick of
Yeah.
one area, they just pack everything up and move.
Right.
They got some pretty interesting stories too, man. The Afghanis, you'd think that a primarily Muslim country would have gotten rid of all superstitions outside of the Quran. Nope, not at all. A lot of these people still hold on to the same superstitions from when it was a primarily Buddhist country.
Yeah.
Thanks Taliban for blowing up one of the wonders of the world, I thought, which was those giant Buddhist statues that were carved into the side of the mountain near name of a town I can't pronounce.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. And that was the
Yeah,
shitty thing, bro. Is they were trying to destroy the history of that region. Why? To me personally, I don't think it was just something that they were doing. I think it was
it was
something
for
that the
control.
government had set up. Yeah. They did
It
it on
was for
purpose
control.
because they didn't want us finding what they wanted us to see. Because we saw
Right,
a lot of stuff. There were still remnants of things that were should not, they were trying to destroy, but we were able to secure a lot of that area that they
right.
weren't able to get into. So we were able to see this stuff.
Well, I'm sure all that's been destroyed now that Taliban has resurged back into the country. But
Yeah, and that really sucks. But yeah, I mean, right now you're in North Carolina, my hometown. Oh,
oh yeah, good
and
old Fort Bragg.
oh yeah,
We don't call it
and
liberty around here. That's for the gays.
um, the history there in North Carolina around the Fayetteville area, I know is really, really prevalent. So, has there been
Where are we
anything
going?
that you've ever seen in that area?
Oh yeah, dude, plenty. There's I know Wendigos is not something that you really associate with North Carolina, but it is in this whole Appalachian area, all the way
Right,
from Appalachia to the coast here in North Carolina and Virginia. Wendigos are a thing. I fully believe in Wendigos. I've been out in the forest hearing somebody where there should not be people trying to tell
right.
me, come here, come here,
Who are you in?
come to me. I need help. Come here. It's like, oh, if you need help, you're being very fucking pleasant about it. No
Yeah,
thanks.
like
Not today,
oh,
Satan. I'm out of here.
and I know a
I
lot
don't
of
fuck
people
around with
probably
the
don't
paranormal, man.
know. Oh, I know, right? I know a lot of
Nope.
people don't remember, but there was a CI op special forces unit that went into the Appalachian Mountains there in North Carolina because there was something that was lingering in the woods, and that team was never heard from again.
It was around 1997, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that in the 90s. And like I said before, there are a lot of areas that have not been investigated, that are not inhabited by anybody. So to say that there is not something paranormal or something of that nature going on in these areas, when you have the government that has to get involved with going in and having to take, because this was a unit that came out of Fayetteville, out of Fort Bragg.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So North Carolina, the Appalachian area alone. I mean, there's you can look back all the way to the Revolutionary War. Um,
Right.
there's there's accounts of soldiers march through the Appalachian Trail to try and get up north further, and they just get picked off piece by piece by
Right.
something that they don't know, and then they end up having to turn back and find another way around. Evidently, wherever they went into was something's territory, and they did not want it there.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's still a hot spot till this to this day.
the Appalachian
A lot
Trail.
of
Yeah,
people, yeah, a lot of people will. I mean, they just disappear. They're gone.
right, right, right. Appalachian Trail is it's a I've hiked portions of it. It's beautiful, but you get into the areas that are not the state parks, that are not the well traveled areas, and you start hiking through the real trail, the
The
real
unbeaten
backwoods
path,
that's not controlled. Oh yeah,
right?
you're gonna run into some shit. I've been on a few portions near the non controlled area of the trail. When I was in Boy Scouts when I was a kid, we did 50-mile and 100-mile hikes every year, and Appalachian Trail was one that we hit when I was a tenderfoot. And
Nice.
there is some weird noises that happen out in the woods that do not sound like your normal caw at night. It ain't.
Yeah, I know they've even have some people have gotten evidence of the orb lights that are seen out in
Yep.
the woods.
Yep.
Some people call them like, maybe they're Civil War soldiers or Revolutionary soldiers with their lanterns, walking,
Right.
trying to find their way, whatever. But they could not.
There's there's a lot of local folklore here in Appalachia all the way up through into West Virginia.
Yeah,
Hill folk, man, they're weird. They come up with some really strange explanations for shit,
yeah,
but some of it adds up. I mean, if you can't explain it and they have a better explanation, I'd go with their explanation because they live around it all the time.
yeah,
I always give the storyteller the benefit of the doubt. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. It's your area. You're more likely to
Right,
understand and know what the hell's going on, besides me, who doesn't know
right.
anything and trying to come in there and look for it.
I
But
mean,
yeah, bro, like I said, I just, I wanted to bring you on, man, because I was, going over some aspects of paranormal stuff and just sharing with everybody, all my followers, because I got we're almost at 410, 420 or something like that,
good number.
of followers. So we're trying, I'm just letting them know, like, my background, that, hey, man, we've been doing this for a minute. I've got other brothers that, were with me when we did a
Right,
lot of this stuff, and they witnessed a lot of the things that we went together, that we saw, that we
right.
couldn't explain. But yeah,
Yeah, and
man, I mean, appreciate you
my
coming
my
on.
background in the army and electronic warfare, having to have my ear on a radio all the time, you hear some weird shit in the static.
Right. I bet, dude. Family life. Yeah, I get you. I can't hear you, dude. Turn your mic on.
Oh,
There
there
you
we
go.
go. Sorry, my kid still talking. Anyway, no, man. So my background in electronic warfare in the army, I spent what 3 years in the infantry with you guys there in Germany, and then I got forced transition into EW, brand new MOS, and that was a trip, man, because I started getting deeper into um, spectrum analyzation, and you know me, I like to read a good book. So
Yeah.
of course you hear about whispers in the spectrum of like otherworld entities using the spectrum to communicate. You have uh, spectral entities trying to communicate using radio frequencies. And Fort Polk, Louisiana, man, I heard some wild shit through the static, and it was
I
not
bet.
radio stations. Um, just like whispers and cries, or what sounds like, I don't know if you've ever
Someone's
played
trying to
Doom, you
talk.
hear the whispering in the background, but it's like real
Yeah.
static. And it's just you hear some real weird shit coming through the static if you listen hard enough.
Right. And that's what I mean, bro, is like, the experiencing of things that you can't explain on the paranormal aspect of it,
Oh yeah.
and you witness it, and you are like, okay, well, I heard this or I experienced this, and you're in your mind, you're trying to rationalize it. You're trying to go,
Hmm.
okay, well, what is this? What could this be? And if you experience it, but somebody else experiences it at a different time, and they're like, hey, man, did you see it? And you're like, okay, now I know this just isn't me that's seeing or
Right.
experiencing it. So something's going on here. And That's the thing, dude. Is like I said, I wanted to get on here today, and I was just letting everybody know my background and let everybody know that how we've dealt with things, with the things that we've experienced. Because like I said, we've been doing this for a minute, and
Yeah.
starting this new group, High Desert Paranormal Investigators, with Kelsey and I, my wife. Um, we bring a whole different aspect of how or why we do things, and it's one of those things where if you get people that do it just to do it, it's like you're going to end up, there's things that you can do that are going to end up, you better be wary about what you ask for, because you're asking to talk to something, and if
Right.
you're not secure in what you're doing, you're going to get what you're asking for.
When a door opens, it opens both ways.
And there's people that open those doors that do it with the unintent or the ill will, not knowing what they're doing, and
Right.
not closing it, or not doing the proper methods of opening and closing these doorways. It leads to something more,
Right.
not
An
just
inattentive, an
yourself.
inattentive mind is capable of corruption much more.
Right. And that's why I said, we've been doing this for a minute. Um, and what we bring to the table is not just on this level, but it's with the experience of doing it for so long, and research and knowledge of how to do it, how to
Right.
go about it, what to do, what not to do. And that's where you get the difference between, well, I'm going to be this big giant show and put on this narrative of, oh my god, did you hear that? Oh bro, and it's like, okay, chill out. Like, you're investigating this stuff, it's going to happen. There might
Hmm.
be something. Why are you freaking out so bad when you're sitting here asking for something to show itself, and you're
Right.
going, what the fuck was that? It's like
Right.
you're
You're
calling
like
it out.
you're surprised that it actually worked.
Right. And it's like, that's what you're there for. I mean, if you're going to do it and your intent is to get the 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 evidence of something being there, and you're putting yourself in this entity's playground, or the spirits
Right.
area, then don't freak out when it's sitting here going, you're like, oh well, show yourself, and it fucking picks up a chair and throws it, and you're like, oh my god.
Right.
You're
I mean,
surprised.
the bottom line is like anything you do when it comes to dealing with the paranormal and actually trying to interact with it, approach it with reverence. Like
Oh yeah,
approach it with
you got to have
humility
respect, man.
because
You got to
like
have respect and know what
they
you're
don't
doing.
need you. You need them, obviously, if you're trying to talk
Right.
to them.
Yeah. And like I said, man, one of these days we're gonna have to get together, whether it be out there or whether here, and just fucking, do another nice good little investigation for the guys, and just fucking see what we could come up with, dude.
And I might look into digging up something about my ancestors and being able to
Yeah,
present
bro,
it.
let me know what you find out.
I don't talk to my
Let me
mom no more, so that's gonna be a little hard, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you've got ancestry.com and
Oh yeah.
23andMe. Maybe you can look it up, and maybe you've got people that are part of your family that are still living out in that area you could talk to.
Whew, maybe that'd be wild. Wouldn't that be something?
Right on.
So,
Well, cool,
but all right,
bro.
man.
I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I appreciate you getting on here, brother. Thank you, man.
Anytime.
All right, bro. I'll give you a call later, bro.
All right, later.
All right, man.
Bye.
Later. All right, cool. Well, that was my brother Kyle. You heard it from him. Like I said, uh, we were doing a lot of investigations in Germany, and I know we started going off talking about some other stuff. But as I said, here at High Desert Paranormal Investigators, what we bring to the table is a lot more than just big show. We're doing a lot of the stuff for the investigative purpose purposes, to be able to shed light on what's going on in some of these locations and some of these areas, to gather information, to see what is going on, to be able to help these entities if we need to help them, and maybe they don't need help. Maybe they like being where they're at. Maybe they love their location because it reminds them of happy times. It was a good, experience for them and they loved it. So maybe in their realm, they're living out their life in that moment. And it's just a sliver between our dimension and theirs that they are able to communicate and we are able to catch evidence of them. So, as I stated before when I started this show, this episode right now on the podcast, I just want to thank everybody who has followed the group. I appreciate you. My wife and I thank you. If you have any places that you think that we might have an interest in, let us know. We'll see what we can do. If we could bring you on the show, we'll bring you on the show. You guys can talk about your experiences and just share some evidence with us if you have it. And feel free to just let everybody know what's going on with you and whatever it is that you want to talk about. But we will be getting into some of these locations, and we will be talking to a lot of people and putting it here on the podcast and sharing it with you. And I appreciate all the people, all the businesses that I've gotten in contact with. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to be able to go out and do these investigations with you. And I can't wait for the future and what it's going to be bringing and what we're going to be recording and setting up. It's going to be nerve-wracking to say the least, but it's going to be worth it. And I'm totally stoked. I am totally ready. So is my wife. She's like, babe, it's going to be pretty cool. Like, this is going to be something really big. And this is where it's going to hit, the rubber's going to meet the road here. And we're going to get some really crazy stuff, we're hoping. But thank you guys. If you have not already done so, please like, subscribe, share the channels on YouTube, on Facebook with your fans, your friends, your family members. And as I said before, reach out to myself here on the page on High Desert Paranormal, and we will get back to you. I'll reach out to you, if not by message. Let us know who you are, if a way of getting in contact with you, and if you would like to come on the podcast here when we do our episodes to discuss some things that you would like to discuss as far as paranormal activity with you, with anything that you've experienced or that you've encountered, and would like to share it with everybody else. So thank you. You guys are the ones that make this stuff happen, because without you, we would not be able to get this out to everybody else in these locations. And thank you to the UK. Thank you to the followers in Asia. Thank you to the followers in Europe, and everybody that's in the US that has followed us here on Facebook. And as I said, please go out there, follow us on YouTube. And X, we are on X. I'm off of Instagram right now because it's something that's not like deliberating, because it's just a bunch of algorithmic stuff, and I just don't really want to deal with it. But just get a hold of us here. We'll get in contact with you, and we hope to share some of our new investigations with you guys. And we appreciate you, and thank you guys so much for following. So we will see you soon. Thank you, and have a good day.